Hello, everyone. This is our fourth session in our step-by-step series in research. I'm talking today about Prospero registration of systematic reviews. Registration is a very important step in performing your systematic review. In fact, when you aim to publication, you will have to provide your registration number. And perhaps I have indicated before that when you register, it's sort of you are saying that this idea is the idea of our team. We started it. You put details about what you intend to do, so this makes your work more valid. Overall registration is something very important that you should do before starting your data extraction, perhaps even before completing the search. What's very important to do before registration is that you should have your research question very clear. You should have attempted already some search, so you know that your systematic review is feasible. You reasonably know what you will be able to do with this systematic review and your expected limitations, so you can fulfill all the items of the registration. Now, for this, I'm going to move directly to a registration form. This is a template for the Prospero registration form. Of course, you can find that on their website, and as soon as you enter to their website, you will need to create an account with login details, and then you'll be able to complete this form. For demonstration, I have chosen a form that we actually did or made for a systematic review that was already published. So we published this systematic review, in fact. We registered the systematic review along the way when we were planning to do it, as I told you, because it's a very important step. But then this edition or this version that I found is not the final one, and that's why I thought it's very attractive even to discuss with you this particular version, because at that time my team and myself were discussing what edits to make on this form. So perhaps this is going to be useful. This form comes in 40 questions. It has 40 questions to answer. Not all the questions are mandatory. So as you can see, this asterisk here, it points to a mandatory question. So your registration will not be accepted unless you are going to fill in all the mandatory questions. For any question which is not mandatory, it's absolutely up to you. Either this item is applicable to your review or it is not applicable. Okay, so this is explained here, as you can see. So first you put your review title, and for that our title was a systematic review and meta-analysis of novel therapies of pulmonary arterial hypertension. That was the title of our protocol. Interesting enough, after performing very exhaustive and very comprehensive search, and after obtaining all the studies, we could not perform a meta-analysis. There was significant heterogeneity between the studies among the different treatment forms and doses and durations of treatment. So in fact, we could not perform a meta-analysis. At that time, we thought we could do a meta-analysis. This was our intention. So this was the title of our protocol. But however, when we actually published that review, we had very good reasons not to be able to perform a meta-analysis. And even though we could not do a meta-analysis, yet the review was published in a good journal. And perhaps in future sessions, I am going to get out this particular publication as an example and show you how we went about narrative synthesis of that publication. They are giving you the option of an original language title, because the original language of the review was intended to be English language, so we did not have to do anything extra in this item. Then the anticipated or actual start date, for that we simply put the date we intend to start working. and then the anticipated completion date. And as you can see here, my team, they thought they will be able to finish, or they would be able to finish in September. But I thought, no, we can have more time, and let's give ourselves one more month. Then it here asks you about the stage of the review at the time of submission. And for this, um, you usually don't start data extraction until you actually register. So you might be at the stage of preliminary search, or piloting of the selection process, or formal screening, okay, of the studies for eligibility. But you don't usually register after you started data extraction. Okay, so you register at one of these three initial stages. Then the named contact, there should be a particular contact or corresponding author for this review. And for this, we named the contact author. It was Dr. Omnia Azmi at that time, and she was really the dynamo of this review. And then we put the email, and as you can see, it's a required field. Then there was the address. Okay, and if you're going to put the address of an institution, let's say we wanted here to get the mailing address for Dr. Omnia to be Faculty of Medicine, Cairo University. We didn't know the exact address at that time, but it's very easy to get it from Google, okay, or a valid internet site. Perhaps the website of the institution, so you get the postal address as well. And you get a phone number, of course. As you can see, the mailing address here and the phone number are not mandatory fields, so you can fill them out or you can leave them. Then organizational affiliation of the review. Um, of course, you look at the majority of the authors and you decide to which organization this review is going to be affiliated. Then the review team members, and here you put the team members. We are going to discuss the order of authorship in a separate session. However, usually the first author is the one who got the idea, and he's the one who's doing most of the work, and the last author will be the most senior. And here you can see that I told them, you have left me out and you have forgotten to put my name as a last author on this review. Then, if there's any source of funding for this review, can reviews be funded? Yes, they can be funded, because this is work that needs time. Sometimes you need a funder, or sometimes you can get a sponsor or a funder for your work on a systematic review. That funder may be an individual, more commonly an organization or an association. So as you can see, this is a required field. So either you have a funder for your work, maybe a grantor, you obtain a grant for doing this systematic review. I mean, sometimes you need to go somewhere to get a reference, or to access internet, or to access websites that are paid. Where are you going to get money for all this? So sometimes you need a grantor. Sometimes you are lucky enough to have a grantor, in which case you can write the granting body, or you simply say that this is not applicable and you don't have a funding source, which is the most common case. Then you say whether there are conflicts of interest. What can be a conflict of interest in performing a review? Let's say you are working for a certain pharmaceutical company or medical device company, and you decide to make a systematic review about that involves one of the products. This will constitute a conflict of interest, or a potential conflict of interest. So here you say whether there are any potential conflicts of interest. By the way, working in a company and doing a systematic review about the product from the same company is not something prohibited. You can do that, but the most important thing is to be transparent about this. just need to be transparent about this, okay, and list it in your potential conflicts of interest, and then the readers would decide whether this really constitutes a conflict of interest. If there are any collaborators, collaborating institutions, you should list them in under number 14. Then here the serious work starts. Perhaps all the items till now were more or less administrative items. So here the actual, you're going to list or you're going to spell out the actual review question. It is better to put it in the form of a PICO question, and as you can see, questions may be framed or refined using the PICO or the PECO as format or similar formats whenever relevant or applicable. So here you can see we have started to formulate a good question. It's always a very good idea to start with describing the population or mentioning the population. So in pulmonary arterial hypertension patients, this was our population, does each of, and we're going to list here the novel therapies that we were going to research. Actually, this review was about the novel therapies that are used in pulmonary arterial hypertension or primary pulmonary hypertension. So our population was pulmonary arterial hypertension patients, and then the intervention, we had to spell out all the novel therapies that we are thinking of as compared to placebo or standard of care. Okay, so we were comparing these novel therapies to what was considered at that time as a standard of care. Okay, and the outcome was mortality or some other parameters that are measured in such patients. So as you can see, a preliminary question was the efficacy of estrogen inhibitors, Rho kinase inhibitors, drugs modulating bone morphogenic proteins on pulmonary arterial hypertension, or perhaps to rephrase it, in patients with primary pulmonary hypertension or in patients with pulmonary arterial hypertension. What is the efficacy of estrogen inhibitors, Rho kinase inhibitors, or other modulators, okay, on patient mortality and other hemodynamic parameters and other clinical parameters as compared to the standard of care or as compared to placebo. So this is, we are going to stop here for this session, and we are going to continue in the next session with the rest of the items that you need to fill out when you are doing Prospero registration. And thank you very much for your listening, and bye-bye.